What's up, Gaming Nation? Heretic here. Got a new review for you. I'm sorry about the lateness for this review. I would have got it out sooner, but by the time I was finished with my review, it was like 30 minutes long. And like I said, I have a big mouth when it comes to gaming. I just want to promote good games so bad, and I want to shit on the bad games so bad. And I just wind up having a lot more to say than what's probably necessary. But some of these games can be like 12 hours, 20 hours, 50 hours long, and trying to articulate all of that in like a 10-minute review is almost impossible. Like I said, I have a big mouth when it comes to games, and it's kind of hard for me as a new YouTuber to strike that balance between the useful information, the most pertinent information, and actually not wasting my viewers' times. Because when I was done, my review was like 30 minutes long, so I was like, I better work on that. So I'm working on getting out shorter reviews to you guys in a shorter amount of time. So bear with me on that. So let's get right into it. Uncharted 4. Are the graphics good? Yes, they are the best graphics ever. The best on PlayStation 4. The only graphics that come close to this are Witcher, Metal Gear, and Dark Souls. First ones that come to mind. This is the most beautiful game on PS4. So if you want to buy a game to show off your graphics, this is it. Now, as for story, this is the finale to the Uncharted franchise, at least from the Naughty Dog angle. Sony might continue to milk this shit like they did God of War, but I'll save that for later. So this is the finale, people. Is this the best Uncharted game? No. Is this the best PlayStation 4 exclusive? No. Should you play this game before you play the other Uncharted games? Hell no. What the hell are you thinking? Go back and play the other Uncharted games first, and then come back here. Like I said, if you start on this game first, you're going to be cheating yourself out of so much emotion, because by the end of this game, you're going to be emotionally engaged and just thoroughly invested. There's so much emotion put into the story of this game. This is Nathan Drake's final adventure, and the story may not be all that, like I said, but by the time this ends, oh boy does it end. So go back and play the other games first. You really can't jump into this game without playing the other games. It's like watching Lord of the Rings. You can't just jump into the Return of the King. You have to go back and watch the Fellowship of the Ring and get invested into all this. Otherwise, you are just going to be cheating yourself. So please go play the other games first. So yeah, graphics out of the way. As for story, like I said, this is not the best story ever. I definitely enjoyed the premise of characters. That's what kept me going, as is the case with most of these Uncharted games. Drake steals the show, Sully steals the show, Elena steals the show. Newcomer Sam, which is Drake's older brother, surprisingly, of course he didn't exist in the other games because they didn't think to write him in. He's a cool guy too. Like I said, it's the adventure that pulls you in, and the characters, oh my god. The chemistry between the characters is just great. I mean, the writing is great. The chemistry, the lifelike animations that bring these characters to life, the voice acting, everything comes together so cohesively that you just don't care about the overall story. You just care about the main batch of characters. Because let me tell you, the other weak element in the story are the villains. Nadine Ross, the black chick with the PMC army, and this other guy named Rafe, who's a little fucking twerp. I didn't like his character at all. The villain characters that they throw in this game are relatively weak. I found them to be extremely forgetful compared to the other memorable Uncharted villains. These villains just pale in comparison. They are weak. They are forgetful. They're basically there just to throw bad guys at you and drive the action forward. I'm sorry. I am a die-hard Uncharted fan, and I know weak elements when I see it, and these villains are just forgettable. I couldn't even remember the white guy's name, Rafe, because I'm looking at it right now on the game. But the villains are weak. You stay here for the main characters. The chemistry between the main characters, Drake and his pretty much now family. It's extraordinary. You guys will be thoroughly entertained by that. Now, as usual, Uncharted is divided into 3 major sections when it comes to gameplay. It's combat, traversal, and puzzles. So, first up, combat. Combat feels great. Like I said during the beta, I didn't know how the speed was going to be it was pretty fast. I didn't know if it was going to carry over to the single player, but thankfully no. But there are plenty of firefights in this game. Gunplay is great. As for the combat, they did throw in a few traversal mechanics, as well as bring back some of Nathan Drake's old moves. You can still grab people off ledges. You can still melee people in the face. There's a lot of brawling going on, a mix between brawling and gunfights. You know, swinging off things to land on somebody else. It's just great fun. That's pretty much it for combat. The only thing I would have to say is that the gunfights in this game can be 50-50. As this, you know, there's more open world-ish segments in this game that allow you to enter the combat arena from different angles, but even then it winds up being a little tight to the point where headshots become easy because the enemy is so close to you. And it's 50-50 as well because the enemies are so close to you. It makes it a bit harder because these enemies are armored the hell up. It takes a few more bullets to kill these guys than in previous Uncharted games. So the combat's 50-50. It's up to the player usually, but I found it a bit easy because of the headshots. And I'm just generally a good gamer with all the, especially when they give you all the options for meleeing. And I just found the combat satisfying. As for the set pieces, I'll get to those, but when they come strong, and you know, it's classic Uncharted. You feel great. You feel like an adventurer. Everything is just so hard hitting in this game, but it does take a while to get to those set pieces, and I'll get to that later. This game plays out very differently when it comes to those set pieces. I'll elaborate further. Okay, traversal. Traversal has always been magnificent in the Uncharted games. It's always been very entertaining. You're running through things while things are blowing up. You know, you're hopping from epic set piece to epic set piece. You know, that's really where the Indiana Jones type feels comes from. You're traveling, you know, you're exploring, you're an explorer, you're a treasure hunter. You're going to all these different locales, and there are so many locations. You will have a lot of variety in this game, and there's just a lot of variety. There's urban environments that you can traverse, there's jungle environments that you can traverse, and really the traversal part of this game is the strongest part of the game. You know, I found myself having more fun just running around jumping on things rather than shooting people, and that's a first for me for this Uncharted franchise, you know, because shooting, the action is always, you know, topped. You know, the action has been divided between combat and traversal, and I found the traversal to be the stronger part, especially in the later parts of the games where they add in slightly nuanced mechanics to the climbing that just add layers to it, you know, and it surprised me, the things that they added. And I'm not going to spoil it here, but they change up the climbing. It's not just, you know, jumping up and pressing the, you know, left stick and then pressing X continuously. No, they actually change it up, and especially with the grappling hooks. The grappling hook adds a hell of a lot of fun to this game, and I think that the climbing and the movements, moving simple things like moving between cover, they just feel so visceral and so satisfying and weighted, you know, and grounded. And I just think that the movement overall, the climbing, it just outshines the general shooting combat, you know. And for the final piece of the puzzle are the puzzles. Naturally, a big time, you know, big piece of the Uncharted franchise. You know, you're Indiana Jones-ish, and you come across these ancient puzzles because they're hiding secret treasures. And you know what? The puzzles are probably the weaker aspect of this game, because the puzzles, they just don't stand out, and they're not as epic or as memorable as before. But the puzzles here, they are brain teasers, but they're not going to hold you up for a few hours and, you know, break up the pace. They're just hard enough to be challenging, and you know, just they're basically, they diversify the game all right, but they don't steal the show here. Unlike the puzzles from the previous game, they're fine for what they are. You know, I like that they're mechanically diverse, so they always keep you on your toes. But then there's those other puzzles where, you know, it's find the box and move the box and use the box to jump on the box to get to another area. You know, then there are those mundane puzzles from The Last of Us that I don't know why they incorporated, but, you know, for the most part, I like the puzzles. They don't get in the way. They're enjoyable for what they are, but they could have been better. And finally, there are some awesome bonuses once you complete the single player. I gotta take the time to shit on other games right now. I'm sorry, but MMOs, I don't care if they call themselves MMOs, games like Destiny and The Division, they do not know how to give you in-game content. Their idea of content is kill the same bad guy on a slightly harder difficulty for a slightly stronger gun so that you can do the same thing to a slightly stronger enemy of the same type. No, the in-game content here is fucking in-game content. It changes up the core experience vastly. You know, you got game modifiers that modify the look of the game. I have cell shaded gameplay. I have 8-bit gameplay. I have some modifiers that modify the voices of characters into helium voices. Oh my god, there's slow motion mode, there's bullet time. There's just so many post-game options, in-game options that there's mirror world. I mean, oh my god, the amount of options that Naughty Dog gives you to add replay value to the single player. Oh my god, it's imaginative, and they're actually good ideas. It's not just go through the single player the exact same way but on hard, go through the single player the exact same way but on crushing. You know, these are true in-game ideas, and they are just awesome. So I gotta say, fuck you, Division, for setting the bar so low. Sorry, I had to get that round out of the way, but seriously, after you complete the single player, there's an immense reason to go back, and it's these modes. And finally, we come to the multiplayer. Now, this is where the game starts to lose a few of its points for me. First of all, because of a few personal reasons, I like the multiplayer slightly more than the single player. But don't get me wrong, both components are pretty much awesome. The multiplayer, you know, it's basically your treasure hunter. There's not that many modes, unfortunately, compared to the other ones. There's really only 3 modes, to be honest. Deathmatch, and then you got ranked deathmatch. But ranked deathmatch sucks because every time you lose a match with a bunch of randoms, it's based on, you know, team wins, so your rank goes down if you lose, which kind of sucks. And you know, you got command, which is basically you know, capture and hold. But with the little twist of, you know, having team captains, and when you kill the team captain on the other team, you know, your team gets a little point boost in case you're behind, which is, it's a novelty, but it's whatever. But the premier mode for me right here, which has always been for Uncharted, is plunder. Now you've got a little idle piece, a piece of treasure in the middle of the map, and these two maps have to carry it slowly from one end of the map to the other, while fending off the other team while they're being attacked. And both teams just fight for this idol, and you know, you can throw the idol back and forth, and you know, spam your grenades on the idol carrier. It's just freaking crazy. It's freaking great. And not even talking about those modes, this game is just deep with customization. There are so many emotes that you can use, probably the best emotes I've seen in video games, and I'm not even a big fan of emotes. These emotes are just creative and wacky, and they totally fit within the Uncharted tone. And as for the core gameplay, of course, you're going to be using all the traversal mechanics, all the shooting mechanics, and there's just so much more depth to the gameplay, not just the customization. There's the traversal mechanics, there's the melee mechanics. You can either do regular melee or charge the melee one-hit kill with your hook. You can pull guys off ledges just like in Uncharted. And that's not even talking about what your character can actually do with the multiplayer features. There are mysticals, these powers. They're pretty much kill streaks that are inspired by other Uncharted games that serve as powers, and you know, basically a kill streak. You can zip around, you can throw down these idols that, you know, seek out enemies and, you know, slowly deplete their life. And then there are these sidekicks that you can call in. You know, you can call in like a minigun guy when you get enough money. You can call in your own AI sniper, and you can position him, and, you know, just, you know, create bottlenecks for the enemy. And there's these guys that are hunters that, you know, track down the enemy and choke them out, and then you can come up with the melee and instantly KO them. It's just great. And there's unlockable gear such as, you know, special weapons, C4, grenade launchers, rocket launchers. If you get enough money, you can just pull one of these out of your ass and start tearing shit up. These are power weapons that you used to go out and find in the battle, but you know, they changed it up so it's not so unbalanced now, so you have to actually work for it. And this is just one of those multiplayer modes where if you are skilled and you're a badass, it's really going to show, because there's a lot of skill that goes into this game. It's a good mix of casual and competitive, I'd say. And if you're a competitive player like I do, you're going to love this shit. It's going to stay with you forever. But unfortunately, like I said, there's a few modes missing. it's short on modes. It lacks in content, I'd say, in terms of core modes. So it's got to be taken a few points off. And also, where the hell is the co-op mode that has single player like aspects from the from Uncharted 2? And where's the maps at? There's not a lot of maps. I mean, where's the map from Uncharted 3 where you're in a convoy and you can jump from truck to truck while chasing a giant-ass plane, and you can jump into the plane and you can fight, and then the map transitions over to the airport? I mean, where's those creative maps at? I mean, I know gaming costs a lot nowadays, but don't go backwards. Naughty Dog, come on. But all in all, multiplayer is missing a few things, but it'll stay with you for a while, guys. Okay, coming up on the end here. This is a hell of a lot better than recording 30 minutes of audio. But like I said, I try to keep this as streamlined as possible, and I am definitely talking fast because I want to get the most important information out there. I don't want you to spend $60 on a shit game. That's why I'm here. Yeah, I do that. I make those sacrifices for you guys because, good games. But in closing, my final ideas for the Uncharted franchise, I hope this is it because, this game is sort of like the black sheep of the family, and let me explain what I mean by that. It's not my personal favorite. I can tell it's not the best Uncharted game, even though everything is top-notch production values. But what I mean by that is there are some things that bring this game down, and namely, it's okay. For the first, it's basically these open world segments where you're driving around in a Jeep, right? First of all, these Jeep controls are horrible as fuck, and second, it's cool to look at these graphics the first time around in these open world areas, but ultimately I feel like there's a strong lack of set pieces and focused gameplay in here because these open sections, they kind of slow the game down. I know Naughty Dog may have wanted you to enjoy the scenery, but I feel that, I bitched about this in The Division too, like these open world segments where there's basically no gameplay. There's nothing to do except walk around and wander around. And, you could have been focusing those resources on more set pieces. And like I said, another part of this game that makes it the black sheep of the family is the lack of set pieces and the lack of memorable set pieces at that. Yes, some things are badass. You will see a lot of things happen in this game that keep you involved. But at the same time, they're just not as strong as the other Uncharted games. Like Uncharted 2's train sequence or the Nepal level or, or Uncharted 3's desert sequence where Nathan Drake is having some kind of psychological head trip. I mean, there's nothing like that happening in this game. It's like Naughty Dog has matured and they don't want to throw in these fun little elements, And the story is, like I said, it's solid in this game, but it feels like it's been matured and it's less fun tonally. Like everything is just like the quips are there, the jokes are there, but they're just toned down, Like Naughty Dog has kind of like gone past their, limit of fun, Like there's a slight lack of ideas, and I don't want to. The game's fun, but it's fun in a different way. I would say at the base core line gameplay. Or lack thereof, because just like the Uncharted games, at the end of each of those games, there's always some kind of gameplay sequence that is sort of like acts as a curveball. You've got those pre-established action sequences, all the gameplay you've played up to that point, and then there's these what I like to call Uncharted Indiana Jones moments where the game throws curveballs at you. Like Uncharted 2, they threw you into that lost city, and all of a sudden there were these blue enemies to fight that they were impervious to bullets, and you had to use their own weapons against them because they were just almost invincible. Or Uncharted 3, where they throw these exploding enemies at you during your head trip sequence, and it just threw up the game. It just diversified the game so great, and it didn't feel out of place at all. But there's nothing memorable like that in this game. It's basically a grounded story, and therefore it makes it less memorable. I guess they didn't want to go too cheesy with it, because I guess they felt those sections in the other Uncharted games, those supernatural sections, were kind of cheesy, but I thought it was part of the adventure. I mean, do we hate Indiana Jones because they incorporate, 1,000-year-old Templars into the story? Templars and ghosts and shit, and magic boxes that, melt your face off? Come on now. That's classic adventure right there. I mean, like I said, the tone overall of this story is very muted, and therefore less fun in my opinion. But as a game, for what they gave us, this game is freaking awesome. That's just me personally, and I would give this game a 9 out of 10. And also, please don't play this game unless you play the other Uncharted games, because you will be cheating yourself out of an extraordinary experience with these games, especially if this is the last one. So with that being said, I'm going to give this game 9 out of 10 for the lack of gameplay, for those open segments that I did not enjoy. There was nothing to do, and also some missing elements of multiplayer. And so yeah, basically 9 out of 10. This game does deserve your money, and it does deserve your time, but if you haven't played the other Uncharted games, I would say it doesn't deserve your time right now. Please go back and play those. You will never forget them. They are a life-altering awesomeness. That's it for me, guys. Like I said, I tried to trim this review down from 30 minutes, and now I'm around the 20-minute mark. Thank you for bearing with me. God, I got so much to say about every game that comes out. I guess that's why it takes so long for me to get these videos out, because I want to experience every game, and I want to experience every game in its fullness. You know, I told you I'm going to be covering many games in depth if I can, and you know, I hope I haven't taken up most of your time, but I hope you enjoyed the review. So that being said, stay tuned, and there will be more content out for you guys in the coming weeks. This is Heretic, signing off.
Yeah, bring it.